I feel really tender talking about this.
I feel super tender as well.
I feel really vulnerable.
What I believe a healthy relationship, there's people carrying the load in different ways.
It's about the other partner not caring that their partner wants them to do it, even when the other partner has expressed that they would love for them to do it.
Exactly.
It's a disrespect.
Like, I felt awkward sitting here and listening to you say it because I was in my head being like, oh, people are going to think I'm such a dick.
Hello, evolving lovers. Today we're going to be talking about the silent load in relationships, also known as the mental load, perhaps the unseen work, things in that category. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently.
And I think it's important to frame this conversation kind of initially with the different types of silent load that there is within relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of boiled it down to kind of three main ones and then maybe a little extra fourth aspect of the mental load. So the first aspect of the invisible load is the physical and the logistical load. So this is often the visible, tangible tasks that can still sometimes remain unseen.
So just backing up a little bit.
Yes.
So this is between couples. So we're looking at this through the lens of like, it's not the workplace. It's like through the lens of like a romantic relationship. So we're, the unspoken work.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So this is in like a classic romantic relationship. It can be a monogamous relationship. It can be a non-monogamous relationship. This can happen between multiple people. It doesn't just have to happen between two people. But this is exactly. So that's the first one, is the physical and the logistical load of a relationship. The second is the emotional load. And so this is kind of the invisible work of caring for the emotional ecosystem of the relationship or of the family. Okay, so this, if you have kids, this might include, maintaining the different emotional aspects of the family life as well as the interpersonal relationship with your partner or partners. So that's the second one. The third one is the mental load. So this is the planning, the remembering, the tracking, the organizing, the anticipating side of relationships. So this is all the stuff that is happening in one's brain as we're kind of navigating our relationships. So this is one that we are excited to talk about today because
excited.
All of these things are super interesting. But yeah, so that's something that we're going to dive into. And then we have the extra one, which is the fourth one. And this is the relational mental load or the relational load. So this is who organizes the big relationship conversations, who might be the person to bring up difficult topics, who initiates the repair if there's been disagreements, if there's been arguments, or it could be who holds the kind of long-term vision for the connection for the relationship. So who's kind of looking to the future and thinking, how can I improve our relationship? How can I make sure that we don't get stuck in our ways? So these are the four aspects of the invisible load that we're going to talk about today.
I love it. Let's talk about the loads.
Let's talk about all of the loads.
We can't really go on with this conversation without acknowledging there might be aspects about this that are leaning more towards like certain genders as well when we talk about this. Because as I'm hearing this, I'm hearing you talk about it. This idea of like a woman's work is coming up for me as I'm listening.
Yep.
But of course, this could apply to any type of relationship, queer relationships, gay relationships, and alternatively, things could be flipped in and out as well. But the anecdotes, the things that I'm thinking about, the stories, there's so much that's coming up. How are we going to do this? We're going to break it down. Like, what's going to be our flow?
Okay, so the flow is good. Let's take each of the logistical, each of the different types of loads, the invisible loads, and then kind of go through them. I just love
hearing you say loads so many times.
I'm trying
to have a straight face.
I'm trying to have a straight face. So maybe we should just get the dirty jokes out of the way about how many loads we're going to take in this.
Like, we can start dropping like that's what she said. Like,
oh, I know. We need a Steve Carell meme at every point. But I think we can start with the physical and the logistical load.
Okay.
And when we were talking about this, when we were planning the episode, you had a funny little anecdote about cooking.
Yes.
And about when we first moved to New York, something that happened.
So when we first got together, I was living in a share house with a great group of women, young women, and you were at that point living back home with your parents. You had lived overseas before, but you were back with your parents. We were young. I had just turned 24. You were 22. You turned 22 not long after we were together. And so you would come and stay with me as my guest. So for that amount of time, that before we moved overseas to New York. Now, I think it was after, I can't remember the exact amount of time it was, but we moved to New York the next year. And that was when we properly started to live together, and not in the context of it being a holiday, you know, that sort of thing. It was like we're living our life. We're doing the laundry. We're cooking together. It's not one of us hosting. And so we're getting to understand each other more. And that was when I really started to learn more about you and also, you know, your family, and how it's very interesting how sometimes another person, like another family member's passion or interest can then become a default, that they become the person that does a lot of the cooking. So I'll just say that, like, one of your sisters, she's a wonderful cook. So
Amazing chef.
She's an amazing chef. So she would do a lot of the cooking for your family, and your mum is an amazing cook too. So that was just something that they enjoyed, and I think you perhaps weren't cooking as much. This became very apparent to me when you said to me one day, I'm going to make you a special dinner. And I was like, great, okay. And you know that I like pasta, and you know that I like gnocchi. So you decided that you were going to make gnocchi from scratch. Which was fantastic. I was like, great, he's going to make gnocchi, amazing. But then I realized that you didn't know a couple of things, because at one point you came up to me like it was the most straightforward question ever. And you were holding a bunch of garlic, a full bunch of garlic. And you said, hey, babe, is this a clove of garlic? And I was like, whoa, you don't know the difference between a clove of garlic and a bunch of garlic. And you didn't really know what to do with the garlic. And that was like a really interesting moment of realizing the mental load in that aspect, like in your upbringing of like who would have done most of the cooking. Now you're a very like, you know, anything that you set your mind to, you can do. Like I've seen you, like you will learn anything like off YouTube, like you're building cabinets, you've built these incredible things, you build things for the garden, but you just hadn't really done that yet.
Yes.
I just thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah, well, I mean,
not to throw you under the bus with the garlic.
Look, straight out the gate, throw me under the bus. No, it's fine, because I have to own it as well. It's like I didn't know that. Yeah. And it was because I had done some cooking for sure, but I definitely had not done a lot of it. And the cooking that I had done, it hopefully didn't involve any garlic, because that would be embarrassing. But I also do have a brain like a sieve. Like even as you're describing it then, I'm like, and I cook with garlic a lot now, but it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to remind myself of the you know, what is what. But yeah, I think there was definitely, when we started living together, it was clear that I had just not done a lot of cooking. And the cooking thing, if talking about from then to now, is still something that I struggle with in terms of getting it into my brain as something to carry the load of. You know, I feel like you know, there's often times where that is a situation that comes up for us, where you assume so much of the mental load when it comes to cooking. Hopefully not all of it, because I try and do better, but it's also something that, you know, is something that we talk about a lot in regards to how we navigate that within our relationship.
For me, I don't find any of this to be a relationship issue whatsoever. And I know that some people listening might go, oh no, like she's always cooking. First of all, I really love cooking. I enjoy it. And you have other things that you're really into and that you do, and you will always be like, but like you'll always be helpful with like, what should I get from the shops, this or that, but I'm still carrying the mental load of like telling you what to get from the shops, like ingredients, or I just have it in my consciousness. And I think that, you know, when we think, you know, about a woman's work or that, it's like I'm thinking about like, when an invisible load, the mental load is like the anticipation aspect that really jumped out to me, because I will think about like when you need to eat, like when our son is eaten, at what point we're going to need something, we're going to need a drink at this point. So we have to factor all of those things in, as where I think for you it can be a little bit like you're not thinking about it, you're not thinking about it, you're not thinking about it. And then all of a sudden you're hungry.
100%.
And you'll be like, oh, I need to eat. What are we eating?
Right.
So, and because you're busy sort of doing other things, then they might be other things for the family. It's not that you're not.
Yeah, I think
sitting around on the couch.
So I think we need to caveat. We need to caveat the whole conversation right now, because people listening could get to this point and go, "This guy is a piece of shit." So I just want to couch the whole conversation in the knowledge that we both have lots of different things that we carry the different loads for each other.
Yes.
In terms of, so over the course of this whole conversation, we're going to talk about the full spectrum.
The full spectrum. So, this is one instance. This is not reflective of the entire relationship.
But also it is reflective of what the situation is.
Yes.
Because it is true. I definitely don't want to deny and say that, that this isn't something that is the case, because it really is. But I think it is important to know that with any relationship, in what I believe a healthy relationship, there's people carrying the load in different ways. Because I think the biggest issue, I'm not thinking about food. I'm not, I get hungry and then suddenly it's like, oh shit, we need to figure out dinner. I think that would be an issue if there was no mental load being carried in any other area.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, this is the thing. I don't think that everything needs to be equal with every single task. And I actually feel like things are really fair between us. We just have different skills. We also have different enjoyments with things. And you take on a lot of mental load with different things.
Yeah, and we don't have to play tit for tat, because that's another interesting thing as well. Because as we're talking about this,
I just feel very protective over you, and I feel even sharing that, like to me, sharing that about the cooking and the garlic, like that's a very vulnerable share for me to share that.
What's vulnerable in the sense that it's vulnerable for us, I would say, as a collective, because we've laughed about that.
Oh, we think it's hilarious.
We think it's hilarious.
I'm still joking with you. You're like chopping garlic and I'm like, oh, you got the bunch there, or is it the clove, what are we doing?
It's been a joke that has gone on for like over a decade. And I'm sure I've Googled garlic, like which is what in garlic even since. Like my Google history when I'm cooking is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I don't ever cook, because I do.
You do.
But I think it's one of those things where if you look at anything as in isolation with a relationship, you can use it to kind of paint anyone in a picture.
Totally.
It's like when different friends, and we don't do this with our friends, but when I've heard in the past people going, complaining about their partners, it's like in isolation, the thing could be really annoying, but it doesn't actually paint a picture of the whole relationship.
No.
Because, someone forgetting to do something in a domestic way doesn't mean that they're not remembering to do all these other things.
Yeah.
So I think the vulnerability for us sharing comes from the worry that putting something on a podcast and certainly starting off with something, extra embarrassing.
I hope, was that the story that I was meant to start with, or was it more about the kitchen being messy?
Oh, I mean, there's so many stories.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good one because it's awkward.
Yes.
Like I'm sure people listening to the podcast felt awkward. Like I felt awkward sitting here and listening to you say it because I was in my head being like, oh, people are going to think I'm such a dick.
No.
You know what I mean? And, that might be the case.
But you have to it's like that is also a story from a long time ago.
Yes.
When you was just sort of in that lens of, it's not like you weren't eating or you didn't know how to feed yourself. It's just like at that point in time, your sister is cooking these incredible feasts.
She's a great chef.
And you're there doing the dishes after because that's the way that it would go.
Yeah.
But then when you were living by yourself, I assume you just would have, like, you were young, like you moved overseas when you were young, you would have been eating like, packet pasta and a tomato sauce or like some chicken, like, I don't know.
So when I was overseas, so I was overseas on a gap year when I was coaching hockey, but I lived at a school. So I got all my meals kind of basically.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, all made.
Okay,
'cause
so
I
that
lived-
also makes sense. Like,
They
I
were
didn't
all
even know
made for
that.
me. Yeah, they were all made for me.
I thought you were living in a share house.
I was living in a share house, but we had access to the boarders' facilities.
Oh.
And because we worked in the boarding house, you know, everything.
And you were also young at the time too.
Like
you were 17 on your gap
I
year.
was
Because
17.
you were young for your year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where
Totally.
where it does make sense. I think the real crime for me would have been, because I can own the fact that I wasn't great at cooking and still I'm not amazing. But I think if I had let you do all the majority of the cooking, basically all of it, and then I had never washed up, I'd never gone to get groceries, I'd never participated in those aspects, I think that would be the cardinal sin.
There could be this image of me doing everything, but you're so caring for me in so many ways and you do so many things. So let's get into some of these other things. So let's just, the garlic. Okay, we got to move on from the garlic because I feel very vulnerable after sharing that. It's very funny and
also,
sweet.
actually, before we move on though, which is quite, so one thing that I did notice and still do notice is that when, and you know, seeing as we're getting vulnerable, I thought I may as well just share all my sins, you know, and just let it all out.
All right.
You know, so the listeners can, you know, can enjoy it. But one thing that I have noticed, and I don't know if you have noticed this, but when I was doing the kind of the garlic, with that garlic instance, you mentioned it was the gnocchi.
Yes.
So while we're on gnocchi, I think another thing that I think about when I think about back to the gnocchi, and something that I've noticed within myself, seeing as we're bearing all, and I'm very happy to be vulnerable, and you know the listeners can, you know, make their own minds up. But one thing that I've noticed is that when I do cooking, and the gnocchi is a perfect example of this. Like, I don't know if you remember it, but I remember like I'd made the gnocchi all from hand. It was like this big extravagant show of like, check it out, you know, I'm making the gnocchi. It was so over the top. Like, it really, even though I didn't know what garlic was, it was so over the top in its like expression that it kind of really took away from, like, it would have almost been better to make a bunch of meals less extravagantly than do like one really super extravagant, like, this out. I'm a gnocchi master.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, do you feel like emotionally or like mentally, because of the mental effort that would have gone into that for you, you would have felt like, oh, I made the gnocchi, now I don't need to cook for another month?
Well, maybe subconsciously I totally could have thought that, you know, and I've definitely like thought that in the past for sure. Well, and maybe not even like I don't have to cook for a while, but like maybe this will buy me, you know, brownie points. Like I'm cooking.
Yes.
Whereas opposed to like the mental load about like day to day cooking is very different to like an extravagant, you know, I'm going to make this, or like the friends come over, right?
Yes.
And then I cook a meal or something.
Yes.
I think that is definitely something that I have seen in certain relationships. Like from the outside is like you go over to someone's house and then there's this huge expression of like.
For sure. But also when you just said like have the friends over and make the dinner, make the dinner for the friends, which you don't do. A lot of that is, it's not that you don't want to, because you've said so many times, oh, we're having these friends over, I'll make dinner. And I'm just like, no, you're not, I'm going to make dinner. Yeah. Because for me, there's also what comes into this is like the control aspect. Like I want to have control over what we're eating. Yeah. Like I'm very across the diet trees. Like I would just want to know. I get organized. Like I have to me, it might be more stressful. And it's not that I wouldn't, it's not that I think that you couldn't do it. Of course that you can do it. It's just that I feel like I want to do that. And I wonder if there is some ingrained, it's like, this is what the woman does. This is what I do. Like I've got this like hosting thing in me. Like I get really into, like if we're hosting, I'm like really into it.
Yeah.
And you are too. You're amazing. And we love, if we're having friends over for dinner or anything, it's like we're cleaning the house. You're in the garden. Like even if we're not going to go into the garden, like you just love getting it all ready. And you're like, I'm going to go to the shops and get this, this and this. Like what do we need? And like it's such a team thing.
Yeah, very much so. And but that is definitely something I noticed what you brought up is that often I'll be cooking and then you'll be like, no, don't do it like that. Or like,
Yeah.
don't do it. And it drives me insane.
And I think it's really bad because it's depriving you of your of like building your
Confidence.
skills and your and your confidence with that, because I think it can become one of those things where it's like been so long that I do the cooking now. It's like you would feel like I'm a hawk watching you.
Well, you are often.
But I don't mean to be, but I
and I don't
would
mean
be.
to be. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And it's very it's an interesting.
Well, maybe that's something for us to explore.
Yeah.
And
we've spoken about this before, but I think we just came to this agreement of like, it's fine.
Yeah. And it's good to interrogate the agreements that we come to. Because, I would hate to think with anything in regards to the load, like the mental load, the emotional load, all these different types of loads, is that how we operate after however many years together, over a decade together, that's just what it's going to be forever.
Yes. Where I think this becomes an issue is when there is the undercurrent, there's a seething resentment. It's like when there's something that we're really longing for and we're not getting, that is when there's an issue. And this is why, it's that age-old thing. It's like, breaking up over the dirty dishes, or like it's never about the dishes because it's about the sentiment behind what that means. If there's someone that's like always cleaning the kitchen and wishes that their partner clean the kitchen, but their partner doesn't clean the kitchen, or the dishes or whatever, and it's every single night. And the fight, it's not, and the other partner who's not doing it is like, oh, it's just dishes, but I do other things. But there's something about it's like the cleaning up of another person's mess and the expectation of that. And then the like resentment that it's like, oh, you're actually just comfortable with me cleaning up after you every single night.
That's a great point.
And what is the meaning of that? Then we get into like one is a servant because it's so domestic. So it becomes like you hear it all the time. It's like someone gets to a certain point and they're like, I'm actually just done doing your dishes and I'm out because I'm done being a maid.
Yeah. And it's probably a lot of different factors. And that is just a symptom as opposed to the actual core problem.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's the icing on the cake.
It's about the other partner not caring that their partner wants them to do it, even when the other partner has expressed that they would love for them to do it.
Exactly.
It's a disrespect.
No, that's very true. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And then it also becomes a situation where there has to be a line of communication where someone can say, I'm not happy with this. And I think that happened definitely in the first year that we were in New York. I think there were plenty of arguments kind of both ways that were just purely domestic arguments.
Yeah.
That we had the argument and it was because, something wasn't done or, something was done too much. And then it's a situation where, we were learning in the initial stages of our relationship to be able to communicate it.
Totally.
And
I was going to say it came about communication.
Yeah. It just
conflict.
became about how we manage conflict.
Yes.
And I think initially, and I don't know if you can feel free to talk about this side of things, but I think the conflict was something that we both approached very differently.
Yeah.
From how I had been previously and what I'd seen in my life, and then how you had navigated things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I remember blowing up one day because I had been cleaning the kitchen a lot, and then I did like I won't clean it and I'll see how long it will take until he cleans it.
Right.
And I'd been at work and I came home and I think you'd been home that day and the kitchen was messy or something.
Right.
And I got really upset.
Yeah.
Like I was really upset. I was like, can't believe this, like blah, blah, blah. And that's just like learning. And then I remember from that, and you were so apologetic. And then I also felt really bad and sorry for getting so upset about it. And I think you were confused because you were just sort of like, why didn't you tell me? Because I hadn't told you.
We hadn't communicated that today the dishes had, like, it was like one day. I do remember this argument, and it was like one day, like you'd gone to work, like we'd made dinner, like it happened the night before.
Maybe it was a few days. I feel like it was a couple
of days. Was it a few days?
I think it was a couple of days, and I was like waiting.
Oh yeah, you were
like
testing.
I was just like, well, I'm just not going to do it, and I'm just going to wait and see because is the expectation that that's my job.
And then you came back, and then you were very upset.
Yeah.
And maybe one could say that you were disproportionately upset to the situation.
Yeah.
And then it became an argument about the argument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was like,
I think I came in and I just like, maybe I was premenstrual. I don't know. I think I just started yelling. Like I was just like, I was so upset that,
and didn't
like,
I go for a walk or something? I was like,
I think you were like, whoa, and like left. And then it became about like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like raise my voice, but like, I'm not your son. And you're just like, why didn't you tell me? So they're quite innocent.
Yeah.
It's early days of a relationship
and we're learning. Just learning.
Now it's like I try to be direct. I'll be like, hey, if I want something done or if you want something done, we just ask each other. I'll be like, hey, can you wash the sheets?
Yeah. But I'm also like, I would say that was a learning for me because it was like, okay, this is obviously something that matters a lot to you.
Yeah.
And should matter a lot to everyone.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I was a grub. It was just like,
not at all.
I just didn't clean the dishes for a few days because I was working and, I had stuff on and, whatever the circumstances were, potentially. I mean, you rolled your eyes.
Because I think you were home that day, but yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was home that day.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I wasn't just like hanging around the house.
No, you're not just watching movies.
Yeah,
you
playing
were like
PlayStation. Just to defend myself a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the issue would have been is if I'd noticed that it mattered to you.
Yes.
Right? And then I just carried on in our relationship. Because now I do a lot of cleaning.
Totally.
I definitely do, 50% of the cleaning for sure.
Yeah, and you do it for yourself as well. Like you don't do it just like it's not like you're doing it because like, oh, I have to do it because my wife wants the house to be clean.
Yeah.
It's like you want it to be tidy.
Yeah, but I also like
and you enjoy it.
Yeah, I like clean things.
Also, you're so amazing at organizing. I was out with some friends a few weeks ago.
Let's have a positive story. Whoa. Yeah.
Okay, so this was really sweet. So I was out with some friends a couple of weeks ago and I got home and all of my sewing stuff, which has been such a mess and in these bags and in these containers and everything is like totally all over the place. Like I've got my needles and mixed in with this and I've got all these bits and pieces and I have all of these crafting things, like bags of stuff. I came home and you were like, babe, I'm so excited to show you something. And you made me a cup of tea. Cute.
Okay.
And then you were like, come and look at this. And you had gone and bought sewing, like some sort of organization sets. And you had completely organized all of my stuff for me.
Yes.
And it's like, that is who you are. That's what you're like.
Yeah.
And just because you wanted to do that for me.
Yeah.
And that meant so much to me because for me, that's something that I probably, I'd be doing other things first or like I would put that in sort of like, oh, that's my stuff I've got to get on top of at some point. But it's like you had noticed that it was just a mess.
Yeah.
And then there'll be other things. You love surprising me with things that you do.
Yes.
Like homey things. Like I'll come home and you've completely reorganized the laundry. You've like banged in hooks. You've got stuff hanging. You've like put shelving in. Like you've got everything is like so sorted and you've got systems in place and stuff is labeled and you're like, this is for this. This is for that. This is where this goes. This is where that goes. And I'm just like, wow, that's so amazing.
Oh, there we go. There's the flip side to the coin. But it's yeah, I mean.
There's endless things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
There are endless things like that.
But you've got to still acknowledge, like I've got to still acknowledge the stuff that I'm not great at.
Well, we're talking about the early days.
Yes,
that's the thing.
True.
I'm talking about a 22-year-old Liam who's moved in with his girlfriend
I will
for the first time.
I will tell a funny story. So I was on my gap year and I was living with 2 other girls and a guy in this share house.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Big Brother. So we'd never met each other before. I think we'd maybe shared a few emails, but we had no frame of reference for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just kind of thrown into this house together. We have, a kitchen in the house, obviously. And we are, even though I said before that, mostly we ate the meals, at the school canteen. We did have meals at home as well. And we did do some cooking at home. A lot of toast, mind you. Yeah.
Okay.
But there was dishes to be done and all this kind of stuff. And in the first week, I was standing with with one of the girls in the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy came up to me, and I was doing the dishes with her, and we're just getting a few things done and putting them up to dry.
Yeah.
And then with a completely straight face, he said, "You shouldn't be doing that." And I was like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "That's a woman's job to be in the kitchen."
Was he saying that as a joke?
He was not saying it as a joke.
Okay.
Because he stood there straight faced. I kind of passed it off as a joke.
Yeah.
The other person I was living with passed it off as a joke. And then we realized that this was fully serious.
Yeah.
And this was so the way he had grown up.
So this is a cultural.
This was a cultural thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So the way he had grown up, he had maids. He had a servant.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who I'd found out over the course of the year had never even made his bed before.
Right.
So this was the level
Yeah.
of like non-involvement in domestic activities. Talk
Wow.
about a lack of domestic load.
Wow.
And so
It feels like he would be living like, does he not have a TV? Does he not have like, he just doesn't know?
no, he just
He
had
didn't
a
learn
very
about like the people that he would be living with.
he had very specific ideas of gender roles.
Yeah.
And a man doing the dishes was not part of it.
Yeah.
And it's important to say like the
I feel like
conversation.
that washed off on you, and that's why you
Yeah,
like didn't
I'm
do
blaming
the dishes
him.
for 2 days.
I'm blaming him for everything.
You're like, well, this guy said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, oh mate. Over the course of that year, by the
Yeah.
end of the year, having seen me do dishes and, he did the dishes a few times, which is a
Mhm.
big thing for him,
Yeah.
from, his upbringing
Yeah.
and where he came from.
Yep.
And it's important to remember that, as we're talking about mental load, it's like we are a context of where we've grown up.
Totally.
And what we've seen, and
Yep.
we're a product of that.
Yes.
What our parents do, what their parents have done. And, some people have grown up very differently. And part of the trickiness
Mhm.
of a relationship is figuring out how the other person has grown up,
For sure.
and what has been modeled to them.
Yes.
How much are their parents cooking? How much are their parents
Totally.
cleaning?
So how do you feel like that then plays into your own parenting and this situation?
Oh, well, I think with the way that we parent,
Yeah.
first of all, for me, I really try and steer clear of any obvious gender roles.
Mhm.
It's like he should see me cleaning. He should see me cooking.
Yeah.
He does see me cooking. I'll be making breakfast or whatever. And, he has examples of this. And I could definitely do better, as we've already discussed. I could definitely do more cooking. But I think
But
it's
that's mainly the dinners. Like you'll be up
Yeah.
there in the morning.
Yeah.
You're making him breakfast. Like you'll get him
Yes.
his lunch ready. Like you carry that mental load. You do all of that.
yeah. So there's lots of aspects where
Yeah.
I do that. But in
And,
terms of
I do that too as
Yeah.
well. For people.
Yeah.
Like,
just for the record.
yeah.
But it's important that he sees that
Yes.
happening. So I think it definitely does play into it.
Yes.
But it was amazing to see that example of someone I lived with who had that very clear concept of
Yeah.
this is what a woman does and this is what
Totally.
a man does.
And that might not necessarily have come from like he doesn't like women or anything like that. It's just learned.
No.
Like everything is like learned behavior.
Mhm.
And things are not necessarily with an ill intention, with a bad intention,
But it was a lot to work through with,
Yeah.
The women in the house.
I was more thinking as I was saying that, I know that might not have fit, but what I was thinking about when I said that was I was thinking about your sister's love of cooking and the impact of her love and enjoyment for something.
Yeah.
And that becoming what happens because
Yeah.
it's her joy.
Yeah.
So that was a celebration of like she took the reins with that.
Right.
That's how we end up also.
Yeah.
You not knowing with the garlic.
And even this guy that I lived with, he grew up with maids
Yeah.
and a chef.
Yeah.
So he grew up in that environment.
Yeah.
And it's understandable in many ways
Yeah.
that, that was how he came to be.
Totally.
But it was great that he did, there was some evolution,
Totally.
just like in
We can all
in our-
evolve, everyone.
we can all evolve.
Yes.
Okay, so that
Whoa.
was us really getting
Wow,
into
we really got in.
we really got into that. But maybe we could talk a little bit about the emotional load.
Yes.
So that is kind of the invisible work of caring for the emotional ecosystem
Yes.
of a relationship
Yeah.
or family,
Yeah.
And if we think about, the logistical stuff,
Yes.
definitely there being some interesting gender kind of roles within this.
Yeah.
I think one thing that is completely democratized in our relationship is the emotional load
100%.
in a lot of ways.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel?
Totally. Yeah. With life and with things happening, we lean on each other in different times. Like there are times when you need to support me more. You're carrying that emotional load. You know, if I'm hormonal, premenstrual and things are hard for me, like you really step in, like you anticipate that, you know that it's coming. You do everything that you can. And that's so beautiful and thoughtful. And then there are also times where we just divide it up as well in different ways. Like we sort of have I love our evening flows. Like I'm going to use that as an example. Like I will make dinner and like our son will be in the kitchen and we're chatting and he'll help me with things and you'll chat and you'll be around. Like you're not off somewhere away. Like we're a happy family in the kitchen.
I'm not playing Call of Duty.
No, I'm making dinner and then we have dinner together and then you'll tidy up for a bit. But then I like to tidy up for a bit because I like sort of finishing touches with the kitchen. But you'll then get our son ready for bedtime. So like you start the bedtime, like you'll do shower, you know, shower or bath, you know, teeth brushing, going to the bathroom, all of those things. And then I like to put him to bed. And we just have this, for whatever reason, I like to put him to bed when we're both at home. If I'm not at home, he's so happy for you to put him to bed. But when I am at home, he's still at that age where he wants mum to put him to bed.
Yeah.
I love putting him down. And then there's also an emotional load in that too, because I'm not just reading him a book and saying goodnight and closing the door. I really like to lay with him because at the end of the day, that's where he does his processing. Like he'll lay on the pillow and like we'll turn the lights off and we'll have silent. And then he'll quietly say, hey, Mum, I want to tell you about something at school today. And he just is there and I'm just there for him in that quiet end of day. So I would say that's a little emotional load.
Oh, definitely.
You know, and I just think that's so beautiful. But you and him also have that in your bedtime routines, like with you showering him and you're chatting and having a great time. And you also do things like you're so active with him in a way that I don't always have the energy for. Like you and him play a lot of like physical games. I'm more sort of activity based. Like I love doing the art, doing those sorts of things, but you're really like, you know, you're out in the garden, like kicking the ball and doing things. And you two love like, you know, wrestling together and all of that stuff, which is so beautiful. And you have your chats and like we just have a different connection with him.
Yeah. And I think.
And I do kick the ball. Like it's not like I don't, it's not like I'm
right,
like,
babe.
But it just comes, you're a sporty person.
Yes, I do love sport. And the conversations that I have with him, like when we're getting into like the emotional weeds, like often it can happen driving the car as well. Like for both of us, you know, that's a lot of processing. Also non-confrontational because he's in the back and we're in the front, and you can have these kind of so much comes out in a similar way that, you know, when he's about to go to sleep, he's like sharing these things with you. And then as soon as you leave the bedroom, then you share them with me because that's when I come to think of it, you know, that is a way that we both share that emotional load together. You know what I mean? Like in terms of what he has shared with you and a parenting, from a parenting perspective, because you know, one thing that could happen potentially and something that we don't do is that people collect all the emotional load and then just hoard it and just take on, it's like, oh, all this stuff was shared with me. I'm not going to share it with my partner. I'm just going to take it and just, you know, carry the weight of it on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we do really well is whether it's with our son and parenting or whether it's with other relationships.
Yeah.
Is that we kind of pass the ball to each other.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I really look to you for a lot of just advice and your wisdom, like when it comes to emotional, like with relationships and dynamics. You are so emotionally intelligent and are so deep and like you're so incredible at looking at the bigger picture of things. So, you know, if there's something that's shared or there's some sort of issue or, you know, if he mentioned something and I'll be like, oh, I don't know, like, should I mention that to the teacher? Like, what do you think? Like, you're not just like, I don't know, whatever you want. Like, like, you're like, yeah, that's really interesting. I'm going to think about it. And then, you know, maybe half an hour later, you'll be like, you know what, I'm going to email his teacher tomorrow. And like you're very proactive with stuff. Like it's not like I'm always the point person
Mm.
for everything. Like if there's
Yeah.
like a medical thing, if there's like his doctor's appointments, like any, I know we're coming back to like more practical logistical stuff, but you will like, you carry that and then you inform me. You
Yeah.
tell me what's going
But
on.
well, that comes back. It does come back
It's
to
all
it.
interrelated.
It's all interrelated, and it is like a mental load.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you had to assume all of the logistics around organizing dentists or, you know, whatever, like that would just be, that would eventually, if I wasn't doing any lifting with any of the loads, that would just become too much. And like you were
It would
saying at the
be.
start, that's when resentment happens.
Yeah.
Because it's like one person is just like the parent who has to deal with everything.
There are some people who it's like there's one parent who just goes to work and then it's like they're done. And I think an interesting thing with that can be there can be this feeling of wanting that's okay because they earn more money. It's like I'm contributing, like I'm the reason why all of this is going. So you don't need to like do like they don't. It's like they, you know, they're totally washed of like having to do anything. And there's so much stuff. One thing that I think is really great with you and I is that we're really good at together divvying up what needs to be done.
Yeah.
With things.
Divide and conquer.
We divide and conquer. Like we actually have these like little meetings with each other and we write full lists. And it can be, everything goes on the list. And even if it's like need to send this person a text message, need to email this person, you know, if it's like evolving love stuff or if it's a family thing, like we need to book in this thing or like we need to look into flights for whatever or we're doing this or that, like, and we both, or doctor's appointments, like literally anything that needs to get done. And we call them our clouds.
Yeah.
We call them our clouds and then we talk about who's going to do what and what's a priority and what needs to be done. And it's honestly amazing. And that's something that you lead the way with.
I love lists.
Because I was a mess until you and your lists.
Well, the lists are great. And, you know, just selfishly, it's very hard for me to organize everything in my mind.
Yeah.
So it's like if I don't have lists, I'm screwed. Because I'm just kind of running around with just a million things going on and I don't get anything done.
Yeah.
But like the satisfaction of working through a list.
Oh, you're so ordered.
It feels good.
Yeah, it feels really good. And you want to relieve the stress. And see, the thing is, I do have a really good memory. So it's not that I'll forget.
Yeah.
I
don't.
You have a terrible memory, but I have a really good memory. It's just that there are certain things that I don't want to do. And I think this is like a neurodivergent thing too. It's like if there's something that's like I don't want to do, it just becomes a cloud and then I just pretend it doesn't exist and then it comes back to bite me. So you're really good at keeping me accountable with that. And I'll be like, I know I need to do this.
Yeah.
But then I carry a mental load. For an example, like it was our, you know, son's birthday recently, have the birthday party. I'm thinking like, I know you wouldn't know, but I know in his class what I know all of the allergies of his friends.
Yeah.
Like I know who's gluten-free. I know who's dairy-free. I know what we need.
And that is not information
know.
That is not information I remember.
You wouldn't know. And like, I don't want you to be in charge of that.
Well, no one does.
But what you're amazing at
No one
in
wants
that,
me to be in charge of who's got the allergies. I just assume I would just, you know, it would just be, that's a
you're
dangerous
all having
game.
apples, like play it safe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just chopped up apples.
But the birthday party is a great example.
Yeah.
Because like there's that side of things. So you're all over that.
Yeah.
Which is, and that's stressful. You know, that is actually a really stressful thing. A lot of the cooking for the party, like you did every type of cupcake that is every type of different variation for so-and-so can't have this and so-and-so can't. And you know, it was just amazing. But then, you know, I'm off at, you know, picking up all the supplies, I'm getting eskies, I'm, you know, doing all of this kind of stuff that together it works.
Yeah.
But if either of us didn't pull our own weight, it would just be a shit show.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it would be very stressful.
Yeah. And you're also involved. Like you're like, I think we should have this, this and this. And I'm like, oh, okay, but do we need that? You're like, no, it's too much. It's too much food. We don't need that. Or we do need this. No, scrap that. We should do this instead. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But when it comes to like the nitty gritty, like you don't want anyone getting sick.
No. And also like we're both up at like 3 a.m. Like we're both in it together.
Yeah.
We're very much, even if you are assuming, and this is an interesting thing actually, but even if you're assuming the load in some ways, I'm assuming the load in other ways, but then we both respect each other's loads.
That's what she said.
You've got to respect my load, you know?
Yep.
And you do respect my load.
Of course.
You always have respected my
I'll
load.
always respect your load.
Yeah, into the future, you know.
Of course.
And I can offer that to you.
Yeah.
My load. My load is what I will offer to you. But yeah, but we just have to like the important thing in that is that it doesn't work as well as if I misrepresent what I'm managing.
Yeah.
Or what I can manage.
Yeah.
Because then it just becomes chaotic.
Totally.
You know, I have to just be honest. Like, I can't do this, you know, or would just do it so slowly. It's like I need to do these 10 tasks in the time that it would take me to, you know,
totally.
to like Google every single cupcake recipe and,
totally.
you know, flail my way through.
Yeah,
I'll just come when you need me to mix the.
Oh, you're amazing.
You know, mix the bowl and, you know, you
you're
need
great.
A bit of muscle.
And that's good because in those situations, you're like my sous chef.
Exactly.
You know,
and I'm
you're
very
like
happy to be
me.
a sous chef.
Yeah, you're
You know?
great. You know,
so yeah.
If you were like completely tapped out and being like, oh, she's got it.
Oh,
that would be so weird.
That's where the resentment is.
Can we talk a little bit more about the emotional load? Let's talk a little bit more about that with something that I was thinking of was carrying certain social, like the sort of social aspect of that. Like, I know that it can be like, I know it's all intertwined, but like the mental load, but the emotional load, but there can be the like who's going to organize the social dynamics, like or like the catch ups with friends and things like that. I feel like we're very even with that sort of thing, which is really, really good.
But it's not necessarily something that we see in other relationships.
No.
You know, like often it can be left, just to get into the gender stuff, often it can be left to the women in relationships, in heterosexual relationships, to just be tasked with like, oh, you have to organize the social life. Yeah. And if you don't organize it, then
doesn't happen.
It's just not going to happen.
I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I feel like you know, and when I say something that's like something that I do, it doesn't mean that it's bad that you don't do it, and same for you with me. It's just like things that we notice. Yeah. But I think something that I do is I'm very sort of aware of like different sort of social dynamics or social sensitivities with things. Like if I know that if we're like going to a dinner and, you know, someone, you know, if there's like a group of people and someone's been having a hard time about something, or someone mentions something to us in confidence at a previous catch up, there'll just be like little things on the way. I'll be like, oh, just remember, like, don't mention something or other
100%.
because they haven't told.
Yeah.
That's private. They just told us.
Yeah. And that's super helpful.
And I think also in a non-monogamous, if you know, just privacy things as well. And you're always like, oh, great. I'm so glad you told me. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like just sort of little things like that.
And that's maybe a memory thing as well.
I think it might be a memory thing.
And it's just a good way to just cover all the bases.
I think it's an ADHD thing as well, just being aware of like just hyper aware with things like that and where people
I would say in my defense, I would say I am very aware, but I think we are very careful to cross check with each other. Yes. It's almost like hypervigilance. Yes. And I think that you are very hypervigilant.
I am.
And vocally so, and that's great. But I would say that I'm very aware of different things, different dynamics. Totally. And like what's going on and what's been said in confidence and just moving through life, especially as a non-monogamous person, you have to be able to kind of navigate different dynamics and different things that have been shared.
And it's not about secrets, it's just about privacy.
No. Yeah, exactly. And so, but I think you're extremely good at double checking.
Yes.
And making sure that we both have the same interpretation.
Yeah. Or if like something's a surprise for someone, there's something coming up that you know about, I'm like, don't mention anything.
And that's helped a lot. I don't think I've ever spoiled a surprise. No. Yeah. That's been very helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's been no slips of the tongue.
One thing that I want to say about you, something that I really want to get better at as well, is like actually looking at the bigger picture of things and releasing a bit of control with some stuff and not getting so caught up about certain little things and having it become such a big deal. Like I do have this thing where it's like every night I have to clean like the kitchen has to be clean to this point where it's like I'm cleaning under the jar, like the jars. Like I just have this, I like it all like totally clean. And it's like if I don't have it clean, I'll like put myself in a bad mood or something. I don't know if there's any psychologists listening to this. I have some like issues or something with that.
Yeah.
But it's like one thing that I need to really check is that if it's not that way, like if it's not perfect, then the next morning, instead of huffing and puffing about it, it's like, this is the new day. Like take a breath. And you're so good at the bigger picture stuff. You're so like, is this worth, like what's more important? And to me, I'm like, obviously the most important thing is the happy flow of the day.
Okay, so that's a great example. We're late at night. Maybe it's like we've put our son to bed. Maybe by this time it's like 10 o'clock. We're both really tired, had a big day. And you're like, I want a clean kitchen to wake up to.
And this is also another difference because I'm a night owl and I like being awake when everyone else is asleep.
And I'll be very happy to kind of, I'll be very happy to go to sleep at 10 o'clock. That's totally fine. But what I explain to you is I will clean the kitchen tomorrow. Like tomorrow morning, I can clean the kitchen.
And you would.
And I totally would. And I've done it many times when I've won this argument, which is,
totally.
not as much as I should.
Yeah.
But my point to you is you should get sleep. Like it's actually important. It's actually more beneficial for us to like hang out or for you to get sleep usually than for it is to kind of have a clean kitchen to wake up to. Because, then you have like 1 hour of clean kitchen and I could have cleaned it in the morning.
Well, I don't feel like I'm eating into our hangout time because I'll hang out with you.
Yeah.
It's like I will wait until you're asleep.
To then clean
and
it.
then I'm like, it's my time to shine. Like I'm up, I'm like doing the thing.
Yeah.
And I probably need to relax with that. And it's just something that I enjoy. I like it when everyone's asleep and I'm cleaning the kitchen and I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to some background show that's maybe just some mindless, like a reality TV show or a documentary. Yeah. Like I love, I try not to watch true crime documentaries really late at night, but I do like, just having something on and cleaning and having it all perfect. And then the next morning you'll wake up and you're like, babe, what time did you go to bed? But I wake up and I look at the clean kitchen and I'm like, oh, I feel so good.
Yeah.
Like my mood's good. I just get a bit tired later on.
I don't think it's an issue.
I don't think it's an issue.
But it only becomes an issue, and this has happened very rarely, is if I'm made to feel bad that I'm not helping you clean.
Yeah.
Okay. And usually that's at very specific times of the month.
Yes.
And then you'll say like, oh, you're going to, like, why wouldn't you, stay up and help me clean?
And mind you, when we talk about this aspect of cleaning, it's not like, because you'll still do the dishes and everything. It's just it's like we have these different,
I'm happy
your
to do it
version
in
of
a few
having
hours.
the kid. Yeah. Like you'd be happy to do it the next morning or like do the dishes tonight, but then like, you're not worried about like putting everything back or if there's just the miscellaneous stuff around.
It doesn't have to be pristine.
Yeah.
To wake up, but you love the pristine nature of it.
I do.
I think it's just a delicate dance.
Yes.
And it's just the nature of any relationship.
Totally.
So the fact that we can talk about it is good.
Yeah.
Because it would be a problem.
I feel great about it.
Yeah. I mean, I would prefer.
Except for when I'm premenstrual, and that's what annoys me. And this is what annoys me as well, is that I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the podcast, but there's this podcast called 28-ish Days, which is fantastic.
Brilliant.
And it's all about hormones, woman's cycle.
Yeah.
And in that, I'm pretty sure it was on that, or maybe it was another podcast that I heard, but I'm pretty sure it was on this one. They talk about a woman's cycle and that when she's in her spring, like she's just finished her period and she's in her vibrancy, she coats everything. Everything is coated in this like happiness, rose-colored, whatever glasses because she wants to see the best in a potential mate. So she's in a good mood. And then there's like ovulation and then it's post-ovulation. That's when that sheds and your true self is revealed. And that really annoyed me because I was like, the woman who's complaining that, I had to clean the kitchen by myself and then is stomping around or just generally, a little bit in a bad mood. I'm like, I don't want that to be my true self because I don't feel like that's my true self.
Well, that's
It's the other way.
yeah. Well,
I feel like I'm possessed.
and often when we have arguments that revolve around who is carrying the mental load,
yeah.
those happen when you're premenstrual.
Yeah.
Because as we've spoken about in the podcast so far, it's like we both do. There's give and take.
Yeah.
You know, there's different things that we, you know, assume the mental load and the, you know, the different types of loads for. So
Sorry.
yeah, exactly. It's hard not to laugh. It's hard not to laugh. But when we're kind of talking about it when you're premenstrual, it's like the fact that I'm not doing certain things can be, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but this is, as I'm saying it, I feel that it's true.
Yeah.
But can be weaponized against me by being like, well, you didn't, you know, I do make school lunches, but just let's just say that I didn't make a school lunch for our son the next morning. It's like, well, you haven't made it in 2 days. Like, you know, not that that's an argument we've had, but it could be an argument that we've had only when you're premenstrual and you.
It's like I forget all of the positive things, or like it's just the lens. Like we all have a lens that we can look through really anything, like good experiences, like anything that's like a positive, like any experience. Sometimes we just have a lens and we're looking at something through like a weird lens. And I feel like that's what happens. You're totally right.
One has to remind themselves, and this is the work that I would do in those moments, is that hopefully if you're inferring that there's no mental load being assumed by me, that you don't really mean that.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's like,
that's why I said I'm possessed.
Yeah.
But I don't mean that in a get out of jail free card as well, because I still have to check myself.
Yeah.
You can't be going around doing whatever you want, you know, just being in a bad mood all the time because you're premenstrual. But
so, you know, there's a lot of like nuance to even that type of thing.
Yes.
Let's touch on, before we finish, let's touch on the relational load.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think this is something that we both do we take lots of loads.
We do.
You take a lot of loads.
I do.
You take so many. and it's really impressive. I always find it impressive. You know, some examples of this are who organizes the big relationship conversations? Who brings up difficult topics?
Who organizes it? We're constantly having.
I know. Yeah, we love it.
It's so fun. We enjoy it so much.
Yeah. And we, you know, of all the loads, this is probably our favorite.
It's our favorite load.
Some people definitely would find within their relationships.
Yeah.
For example, like one of the examples we used earlier was who initiates the repair.
Yes.
After an argument.
Yeah.
You know, that can become something that is all consuming.
Totally.
If one person has to assume like, how do we move through this? How do I bring this up? Because the other person's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know?
We're all in on the repair together.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
So relational loads is definitely something that we both, you know, just are all in on it together.
How do we feel about emotional, relational loads with other people?
From a non-monogamous
From a non-monogamous perspective.
Well, I think that is what gets complicated when you're in non-monogamous relationships, is that hopefully you are also taking on some of other people's loads.
Okay,
you know?
Interesting.
Because you're caring about, you know, how they feel about the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think even in friendships, you know, there's a load that gets exchanged, you know, and it's important for, you know, for the logistics of, you know, if no one organizes.
Do you mean a load or do you mean care?
Well,
like
think about it. Think about it in this sense.
Yeah.
You know, you're friends with someone, best friends, and you think about, you know, the emotional load of how you want to hang out with someone because you want to connect with them.
Yeah.
Because you haven't connected in a while.
Yeah.
Now, if only one person cares about making the connection, then you are assuming all of the emotional and logistical load for that friendship.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a one-way thing.
Yeah.
In a beautiful friendship, there is this
a give and take.
Yeah, like a reciprocation of like, oh, you know, I want to hang out with them. I want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Let's all assume some friendship kind of some friendship load. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I totally agree with you. I would say that I am pretty protective over where I would share any sort of if if I have some like issues going on or like difficulties within certain relationships or things, I will go to you about it. Like I would say that when it comes to other partners or things, if there's something that I want to sort out, before I would go to them, I would talk to you about it to process it for myself. Yeah.
Like we'd help each other with the emotional kind of aspects of the load, you know, and I think it's healthy for other people in the relationship dynamics as well, because you're not getting, you know, the other person isn't getting this like unfiltered, they're getting a slightly distilled, thought out version of what, you know, whatever the situation might be.
Well, it's like in the context of the relationship and like what feels, you know, because sometimes there's processing and things, and I just want to be mindful of that, I guess.
Okay, I think we're getting we've got to the end of there's so much to say.
There is so much to say.
There is so much to say.
I feel really tender talking about this.
I feel super tender as well.
I feel really vulnerable. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I felt the first,
like I feel, and like we share a lot and we share from the heart about things. But for some reason, this, I think because perhaps it's because this is a little bit more of a look into our private life in what I deem as really private, which is our domestic. This is like a different thing. Do you feel that?
100%. Also because the first half an hour was, you know, me being very vulnerable and talking about stuff that I don't feel I'm hopefully not a finished product on. You know, like I want to get better at these things.
Yeah.
And I want to improve, and I don't see it as like this is the way I'm moving through the world. And I've made incremental improvements. I'm certainly not the same person I was when I was 21 in lots of different aspects. Yeah. But you know, we're not all perfect, and I can own that. But it definitely feels vulnerable for sure.
Yeah.
And it felt like uncomfortable.
I feel so protective over you.
Yeah, which is
like even having you like talking about that, I feel really protective.
Well, because it's very much open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like it's like one of those situations where if people were to soundbite this conversation, they could just absolutely monster.
Yeah.
You know, make a monster out of any of us.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's where I think the vulnerability comes.
Yeah.
But it's good to have the conversation. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but I don't know if we've ever really kind of burrowed down.
We don't really get into it.
We haven't talked about it from like a bird's eye perspective.
Yeah.
And it feels great.
Yeah.
Like I love it. It feels like we've just had therapy with each other. We've like facilitated our own therapy and then recorded it.
That TV show actually with Kristen Bell because her sister marries her therapist.
Right.
Or gets engaged. She gets engaged to her therapist. Sorry if I give that away for anyone who hasn't watched, but it's like really unhinged. It's like you can't be with your therapist.
Yeah.
But like I feel like you're my therapist and you're
I think
my therapist.
We're both each other's therapists.
Like that's just a relationship.
We'll see what people say in the comments.
Yeah, let us know what you think, guys.
Yeah. But as always, thank you for listening, Evolving Lovers.